There's something ancient, buried deep beneath the sands of time, something we were never meant to forget. A secret so vast, so unsettling, that even today it whispers through ruins, through symbols etched in stone, through the silence of long-lost tongues. But we don't hear it, not because it isn't speaking, but because we've forgotten how to listen. Type this in the comments if it stirs something in you. We were never meant to forget. And if you're ready to uncover what's been hidden in plain sight, like this video now, not for the algorithm, but to keep this truth alive. Have you ever felt it? That inexplicable pull toward the ancient world? That eerie fascination when you see pyramids towering against the horizon or forgotten temples swallowed by jungle vines? It's as if something inside you remembers, a faint echo of another time, another understanding, another you. Modern life has made us fast, but hollow. We scroll endlessly, chase fleeting pleasures, and call it progress. But what if, just what if, the civilizations we label as primitive actually knew more about the universe, the soul, and the human spirit than we do today? What if our ancestors weren't behind us in knowledge, but ahead of us in wisdom? This isn't just about history. This is about the essence of who we are. In this video, we're diving into what the old civilizations knew that we've forgotten, or worse, deliberately ignored. We'll peel back layers of lost wisdom from ancient Egypt, Sumer, the Indus Valley, the Mayans, and even older, unnamed worlds whose traces still ripple through our dreams and myths. You'll learn why this knowledge was hidden, how it was encoded, and how its absence has left a gaping void in our modern existence. But I must warn you, once you see these truths, you can't unsee them. What we're about to explore isn't just disturbing, it's transformative. So take a deep breath and get ready to remember what your soul never forgot. They say history is written by the victors. But what if the real victors were never human to begin with? Beneath the rubble of collapsed empires and forgotten stone cities lies a deeper truth. That ancient civilizations didn't just build monuments, they encoded messages, not just messages for their people, but for the future. For us. And the irony? We walk past these secrets every day, on museum walls, in sacred geometry, in myths we call fairy tales. We shrug off their symbols as superstition. But in doing so, we miss the point entirely. Let's go back to the banks of the Nile, where the Egyptians spoke of the Zep Tepi, the first time. A golden age, not of savagery, but of spiritual mastery. They believed gods once walked beside humans, imparting cosmic truths before vanishing into myth. But what if they didn't vanish? What if the gods were never gods, but remnants of a civilization whose understanding of consciousness, vibration, and the soul far surpassed ours? Plato spoke of Atlantis, not as legend, but as memory. In the Timaeus and Critias, he detailed a society more advanced than any in his time, one destroyed by divine wrath. But was it wrath or reset? Ancient Hindu texts echo this, describing yugas, vast cycles of time, where humans ascend and descend in spiritual awareness. In the Satya Yuga, humanity is said to be divine in nature. But by the Kali Yuga, our current age, we are lost, fragmented, driven by material illusion. And then there's the Sumerians, the very cradle of civilization. Their cuneiform tablets speak of sky beings, Anunnaki, who came not just to rule, but to shape our very biology. Their knowledge of the stars was impeccable, thousands of years before modern telescopes. Coincidence or inheritance? But here's where it gets truly disturbing. Many of these civilizations, separated by oceans with no known contact, shared eerily similar myths: great floods, star visitors, cosmic cycles, serpent deities guarding sacred knowledge. Why? Because they remembered. Because the earth itself is a library, and these civilizations were its librarians. So why don't we know any of this? Why has this knowledge been scrubbed, laughed at, or pushed to the edges of academia? The answer lies not just in politics, but in control. A spiritually awakened humanity is impossible to manipulate. A being who remembers they are more than flesh is dangerous to systems that thrive on fear. Over time, the guardians of this wisdom, shamans, priest-kings, temple scribes, were replaced by emperors, dogmas, and industrial machines. What was once sacred became currency. What was once inner truth became outer noise. We traded the temple for the screen, but the remnants remain. The pyramids still hum with unexplained frequencies. The Nazca lines still stretch across desert plains, perfectly proportioned, visible only from the sky. In India, ancient Vimana texts describe flying machines and weapons that rival our most advanced technology. Were these metaphors or memories? The answer is not in the stones. It's in the silence between them. And that silence? It's starting to speak again. What we call progress has brought us comfort, but not wisdom. We build taller buildings but feel smaller inside. We travel farther, but are lost within. Meanwhile, the ancients left us a map, not just across continents, but within ourselves. And if we learn to read it, everything changes. Imagine this: a map that doesn't lead to buried treasure, but to buried truth. A map not drawn on paper, but etched into architecture, myth, and the very fabric of the cosmos. You see, the ancients didn't just build for shelter or survival. They built as an act of remembrance. Every stone, every proportion, every angle had a purpose, aligned not just with the earth, but with the heavens. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, isn't just a tomb. It aligns almost perfectly with true north, encodes the speed of light in meters per second, and contains mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio. Thousands of years ago, with no modern tools, ask yourself, how? They were telling us something, but we forgot how to listen. Let's talk about vibration. Frequency. The one language that transcends time, space, and species. The ancients understood that all things, your thoughts, your emotions, even matter, are just energy vibrating at different rates. In fact, ancient temples were often constructed to amplify sound in specific ways. Why? Because sound alters consciousness. Chanting in caves, singing bowls, drumming rituals, these weren't primitive activities. They were spiritual technologies, tools to tune the human mind like an instrument. Now, consider this. Modern science is just starting to catch up. Quantum physics now confirms that observation affects reality, that particles behave differently when watched. But this isn't new. The ancients taught it as divine law, as within, so without, as above, so below. They knew reality was a mirror, and consciousness the key. But what happened? Over centuries, this knowledge was either lost through time or locked away. Mystery schools once held the sacred teachings, in Egypt, in Greece, in the East. Entry required initiation, humility, readiness, not just intellect, but heart. One such principle was the Hermetic law of correspondence, the idea that all planes of existence reflect one another, that your body mirrors the cosmos, that the stars aren't just above you, they're inside you. They mapped the zodiac not just to the sky, but to the spine. The 7 chakras? Reflections of the 7 visible planets. Your breath? The bridge between the material and the spiritual. But in today's world, that bridge is crumbling. We are told we are machines, that consciousness is a byproduct of chemical reactions, that emotions are weaknesses, and the unseen is unscientific. But this worldview is new. It's not how our ancestors lived. They didn't separate spirit from science. They saw them as one. And because of that, they lived not just longer lives, but deeper ones. In the Temple of Luxor, carvings depict the exact development of a human fetus, knowledge supposedly only discovered with modern ultrasound. In the ancient city of Mohenjo-Daro, a mysterious blast appears to have leveled stone structures instantly, leaving behind radiation levels that baffle scientists. What caused it? The Vedas speak of celestial wars, godlike weapons. Metaphor or memory? The lines are blurred. Intentionally. Because once you realize that your ancestors weren't primitive, that they were spiritual scientists, alchemists, stargazers, soul navigators, you begin to question everything. Your history, your purpose, your potential. And that's exactly why this knowledge had to be buried. Because awakening isn't convenient, it's powerful, and once the mind expands, it never contracts. But here's the twist. The wisdom was never truly lost. It was just hidden in symbols, in stories, in you. And now, it's calling you back. Are you listening? What if I told you that the stories you heard as a child, the myths of gods descending from the heavens, of sacred mountains and forbidden knowledge, weren't just allegories, but encrypted truths? Truths so potent, they had to be disguised as legends, because if the world knew what they truly meant, reality itself would begin to unravel. Let's go deeper. Take the serpent. In nearly every ancient culture, the serpent appears, slithering through Eden, coiled on the staff of Hermes, rising in the kundalini of yogic tradition. Why? Because the serpent wasn't a symbol of evil, it was a symbol of awakening, a representation of energy lying dormant at the base of the spine, waiting to ascend. But who benefits from keeping this dormant? The suppression of this wisdom wasn't an accident. As empires rose, as religions formalized, as economies took shape, a pattern emerged. Control replaced curiosity. Revelation gave way to regulation. Initiation was replaced with indoctrination. What was once meant to liberate became a tool to dominate. And yet, the symbols persisted. In the cathedrals of Europe, the stained glass windows still depict sacred geometry, shapes and ratios that mirror the Fibonacci sequence, the golden spiral, the breath of life. In ancient mandalas from Tibet and India, we see entire cosmologies encoded in circular patterns, each one a map of the soul's journey through realms of existence. Even the tarot, long dismissed as superstition, is a visual language of archetypes, consciousness, and destiny. The ancients didn't teach through textbooks. They taught through symbols, because symbols speak directly to the subconscious, bypassing the mind's defenses. It's why sacred architecture feels alive, why chanting gives you goosebumps, why the stars sometimes feel like they're looking back at you. They were reminding us, the material world is not the real world. It's a reflection, a veil, a test. But modernity has convinced us otherwise, that if we can't touch it, measure it, sell it, it doesn't exist. But deep down, you know that's not true. You've felt things you can't explain. You've had dreams that were more real than waking life. You've stood beneath the night sky and felt something watching, not with menace, but with memory, because part of you remembers. We've been taught to fear the unknown, but the ancients embraced it. To them, the unknown wasn't emptiness. It was the sacred womb of creation. They looked into the darkness not with dread, but with reverence. And here's where it gets wild. There are ancient structures on Earth, like Göbekli Tepe, that predate agriculture, wheels, even written language. These sites weren't primitive, they were precise, aligned with celestial bodies, decorated with animals, symbols, and motifs still unexplained. And then, they were buried. Intentionally. Who built them? Why hide them? Because they marked a cycle, a countdown, a warning. The ancients believed in great cycles of time, cataclysms not just of earth and fire, but of forgetting. Times when humanity would fall into amnesia, only to rise again, slowly, painfully, remembering. We are in that cycle now. The age of forgetting is ending. And that's why you're watching this, not by accident, but because your soul is stirring. This isn't just history, it's prophecy. Not the prediction of events, but the reawakening of potential. And the question isn't, did the ancients know something we don't? The real question is, are you ready to remember it? Because once you do, nothing will ever be the same. So now you know, this ancient knowledge isn't just poetry etched in stone, it's a living current, waiting to flow through you. The question is, what will you do with it? You see, awakening isn't about reading old texts or memorizing mystical words. It's about experiencing the truth they point to. And the ancients left us more than symbols. They left us tools, rituals, practices, inner technologies designed to align your body, mind, and spirit with something far greater. Let's begin with something deceptively simple: your breath. Across cultures, from pranayama in India to the deep breathing of Qigong masters, the breath was known as the bridge between worlds. The inhale, a drawing in of spirit. The exhale, a release of illusion. Try this now. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold again for 4. Repeat this box breath 4 times. Feel that stillness? That's not just calm. That's you touching the sacred. But breath is just the beginning. Another powerful practice: sun gazing. At sunrise or sunset, when the light is soft, look toward the sun with closed eyes and absorb the warmth, not just with your skin, but with your soul. Ancient Egyptians called the sun Ra, not just a god, but a portal. Indigenous tribes believed light codes entered the body through the eyes. Science may not fully explain it yet, but your intuition knows. And then there's sound. Hum the syllable OM slowly. Let it vibrate through your chest. It may feel strange at first, but ancient yogis taught that this sound is the frequency of the universe itself. A tuning fork for your consciousness. Chanting it even 3 times can reset your mind like a sacred reboot. Feel drawn to nature? That's no accident. The ancients lived with the earth, not on top of it. Walking barefoot on soil, known today as earthing, literally restores your electromagnetic balance. The earth pulses at 7.83 Hz, a frequency known as the Schumann resonance, and your body is designed to sync with it. Disconnect from it too long, and you start to forget who you are. Reconnect, and memory returns, not to your brain, but to your being. Want to go deeper? Keep a journal, not just for thoughts, but for symbols that show up in your life. Animals that cross your path, numbers that repeat, dreams that linger. These are not random. They're messages. You are not just learning ancient wisdom, you are living it. But here's a warning. The more you remember, the less comfortable this modern world may feel. You'll notice the noise, the distractions, the synthetic patterns that pull you from your center. You may feel alone in your awakening, but you are not. Others are remembering too, quietly, fiercely. You are part of a forgotten lineage, now stirring awake. So how do you stay grounded in a world asleep? Ritual. Light a candle each morning, whisper a word of power, sit in silence for 2 minutes. Let the day begin with intention, not from your to-do list, but from your soul. And above all, trust your inner compass. The ancients didn't follow doctrine. They followed gnosis, direct experience. That still, small voice within you, that knowing you've always felt, that's the real teacher. This path isn't about escape. It's about embodiment. To remember what the ancients knew is to become what the world has forgotten. A soul awake inside a body, walking between realms, both grounded and infinite. It's time to live as they once lived, not in imitation, but in activation. Not to worship the ancient symbols, but to become one. You've journeyed far, through forgotten temples, encrypted myths, and sacred frequencies. But now we stand at the edge of the most profound truth of all. The wisdom you seek was never out there. It has always been within you. The ancients weren't gods. They were humans like you, curious, awake, and courageous enough to seek what lies beyond the veil. They carved their knowledge into stone, aligned it with stars, and veiled it in metaphor, not to confuse you, but to protect it, to ensure it reached the one who would truly see. And now, that one is you. You weren't drawn to this message by coincidence. Something inside you resonated, something old, something sacred, something ready to reawaken. And as you breathe deeper, as your perception sharpens, you begin to realize you are not separate from those civilizations. You are their echo, their legacy, their continuation. But legacy means nothing if we don't act on it. You are being called, not just to learn, but to live this wisdom, to speak truth in a world silenced by illusion, to embody light in times clouded by noise, to walk the ancient path, not in sandals and robes, but with open eyes and a fearless heart. And as you walk this path, remember, you are not small, you are not lost, you are not broken. You are a temple of sacred memory, a soul encoded with starfire, a bridge between what was and what will be. So ask yourself this: what will you do now that you've remembered? Let that question echo. Let it stir something ancient within you. And if this message lit a fire in your soul, don't let it fade. Type in the comments, "I remember who I am." Let the world feel the ripple of your awakening. And if you felt something shift, if your heart whispered yes at any moment in this journey, then like this video, not for algorithms but as an act of resonance, a signal to others walking the same path in silence. Because now, the remembering begins, and you are not alone. Until next time, Seeker, walk in light, dream with purpose, and never stop asking the ancient question, what else have we forgotten? And who might we become if we remember?